Marriage and love, true love, is what brings us here today. And now on the topic of marriage. You see, when a man loves a woman, he gets down on one knee and he proposes to her. And if he is financially stable and has a good head on his shoulders, something beautiful happens, something magical happens, and two people get married. But then, two people must live together, two people must become one and lose a bit of themselves in order to gain a bit more of themselves. And so a beautiful thing happens, and a beautiful thing is created, and suddenly we have something, we have marriage, and the two become one. I suppose I had different ideas of marriage, different precepts when I was younger. I suppose that I might have thought of it one way, but maybe you did too. Perhaps we were a little bit more idealistic then. Perhaps we saw marriage as something else. Do you remember the first time you learned about divorce? Divorce is a harsh thing. It's a very strange thing, and I wouldn't expect the average person to understand it on more than a superficial level. But if you think about it, the two becoming one, becoming two again, now that's a bit strange. I think we'd all like to believe in marriage. I think we'd all like to believe that there's someone out there for us, that there's some person, some entity that's worth bonding to for the rest of our lives, worth looking at every morning, worth being a part of us, worth kind of fusing with in a way. So fusion is something that we do, being living beings, having a soul, which I'm convinced we do because I make art, and you do too. So, being creative beings with said soul, I suppose we go forward and we find things to do with ourselves, things that make our expression of living a little bit more than just animalistic, a little bit more than just on a base level. And so we find ourselves married to things, so we find ourselves married and fused, so we fuse and create new things, and behold, there is life, something new created out of a fusion, a beautiful, beautiful thing. Isn't it a great joy to be married? Isn't it a great joy? But what is it like to be divorced? What is it like to have someone ripped from you? When you have fused, I suppose it's like pulling something out of your chest. I suppose it's like, well, not losing your whole heart, but at least half. At least. So, I used to have different thoughts, and I think as I've come to know people, I think that maybe there's more marriage going on than we think. I suppose there's more divorce going on than we think. I suppose it's more than carrying your stuff out of the house and forging a new life, less fused for oneself. I suppose it's more than just that. I suppose that if we look inside ourselves, if we have a soul and truly are creative beings, then there's more going on than just marriage and divorce. There's more going on than my couch coming back to my mom's house. There's more going on than just your stuff there and my stuff here. Perhaps our souls, perhaps our fused souls must part. But if I can be creative and if I can have a soul, if marriage is more than just those things, those few things that you know, then perhaps there's more to divorce. Perhaps there's more going on here. I think of people, some people I love, and they too are bonded. They too have become one. They too have fused themselves with something that can no longer be separated from them, or can it, if only there were divorce. I love you, I love you. We go on picnics, we get to know one another. I love you, we are friends. But you are married to something else. You are married to something I don't think you're aware of. When did marriage go beyond that? Well, as soon as we acquired a soul, I suppose that marriage became much more than just flesh and blood. I suppose that marriage became much more than just that. And suppose you're walking around today married, completely married. I find people every day that are married to ideas that bring them closer and closer to the grave. I find people every day that are married and fused with such things that eat away at their soul. I find people every day that are fused with things that never grow old. And while they rot and while they decay and while they move towards death, those things that they've chosen to fuse themselves to just grow stronger and bigger and younger and more vital, more lovely, more dashing, more eloquent. What kind of a thing is it that you fuse to yourself that grows more beautiful while you grow more old? What sort of thing is that? What sort of thing grabs its strength off of your decay? What sort of thing is proper to be married to when it eats away at who you are today? And so a great divorce must take place. I suppose I know who I am, but not if I'm fused, not if I'm married to something that dilutes who I am. I suppose I know who I am, I suppose I know who I am, but not if I'm married to something that dilutes who I am. So behold, marriage and love and divorce must happen on a higher level, must happen in a greater way if we are to ever walk away from these things that get great off of our decay. I would not want to be married to something that's going to lead me straight to the grave. I want to be divorced if it means being free, if it means I can fuse myself with something greater than me. I want to fuse and I want to be married, but only if I can live, only if I can walk up to other people and initiate divorce, only if I can grab my friend by the crown of his head and tear that thing apart from him, and it may rip some of him, but good God, it's greater to be divorced than to be fused with the wrong thing. If only I could free you, if only we could see. Don't be fused. You got into marriage when you were young and you didn't know what you were doing. You thought you knew everything, and there was so much promise in the eyes of this partner. There was so much promise that said that I am gonna see great things, but all you see is the inside of the same four walls. And isn't that like a prison? More so than you would have thought, more so than you would have wanted to believe. And so tonight, if I am a creative being, if I possess a soul, then that soul, with whatever power it has, by whatever things it might have been rightly married to, rises up and says, let there be a great divorce, and let light shine inside and rip you from the crown of your head down to the soles of your feet, so that there might be a divorce, so that you, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, so that we all might be more free.